Hello class, I'm Rodrigo Bermudez, and this is College English 2 Advanced class. And I just want to give everyone a couple of reminders. First of all, I started a class discussion section on the Daejeon University website for our class page. And I just want to do an attendance check to see if you guys are watching these videos. So please check the Q&A on our lecture page, and please reply to my message. Let me know if you've been watching the class videos, and if you have any questions. Okay, so please write down your name, let me know if you've watched the videos, and if you have any questions, go ahead and ask on that Q&A. And also, perhaps some of you have heard that the university has canceled the midterm test for this semester. So we will have no midterm test, and most likely we'll just have a final speaking test at the end of the semester. So there'll just be one final exam for this class. Okay, so this class video will be for Unit 3 in your student books. So if you guys could please open up your books to Unit 3. Okay, it was painted by Bensky. Okay, so we'll start with the vocabulary first. We'll take a look at some different kinds of art. Okay, so let's take a look at the picture first. What kind of art do you see? Okay, so let's take a look at the picture. Okay, and then for number 1, what kind of art is that? What kind of painting is that? Okay, so number 1 would be a portrait, right? A painting of a person, we say, is a portrait. Portrait. Okay, and number 2, it looks like she is making a drawing, right? Drawing. Okay, and number 3 is still life. Still life. Okay, so when we draw a painting of like a fruit or plants or something on the table, right? We say that is a still life painting. Okay, and number 4, okay, that is an abstract painting. Abstract painting. Okay, and number 5, if you guys can take a look at number 5, that is a sculpture. Okay, sculpture. And 6 is a landscape painting, right? A picture of the mountains or forest or the land, right? We say is the landscape. All right. And then for part 2, okay, answer the questions. Okay, talk about the words in the box and the words in the picture. Okay, so for number 1, which words are types of art? Okay, so we'll take a look in the box first. Okay, so look at the box. Which ones do you think are types of art? Okay, start looking at the words. And so probably illustration. Illustration is a type of art. Okay, a monument, graffiti, statue, pottery, or mural. Okay, those could all be types of art, right? And then from the picture, okay, all abstract, landscape, still life, portrait, and sculpture, those are all types of art. Okay, and for number 2, which words are used to describe art? Okay, so we could say traditional, a traditional painting. Okay, confusing, right? Maybe sometimes abstract paintings are confusing for people. Okay, amazing, right? Realistic, boring, colorful. Okay, those are all words used to describe art. And is each word positive, negative, or neutral? Okay, so what do you think? So illustration, I think neutral. Traditional would be neutral. Confusing could be negative. Okay, could be used in a negative way. Amazing is positive. Okay, realistic, yeah, it could be neutral, maybe positive. Okay, there can be some variations, right, for some of these answers. Some of us can be open to our opinion somewhat. Okay, and monument, neutral. Graffiti, neutral. Boring, okay, that has a negative connotation. Okay, statue is neutral. Colorful could be positive or neutral. Okay, and pottery is neutral, and a mural also would be neutral. Okay, and then for part 3, so just talk about what kind of art do you like or not like. Okay, so I like murals because they are colorful. Oh, I don't really like pottery. It's boring. Okay, so what about you? What art do you like? Okay, so go ahead and answer with a partner. If you can speak with the partner, ask your partner that question, or just try to answer right now with me. Okay, so I like landscape paintings because I enjoy nature and I like to look at the scenery of beautiful paintings by artists that can show the landscapes and bring out the nature of the landscapes. Okay, so go ahead and let me know what you like or not like when it comes to art. Okay, all right, so how about we go to the next page? We'll take a look at the conversation. So let's have a look at the conversation. Okay, so I will read it first, and you guys can just listen and write the answers when you hear it. Okay, so complete the conversation. Okay, listen and check your answers. Okay, so Kelly says, okay, I like that still life. Okay, did you do that, Emily? Oh, thank you. I like it too, but actually it was done by my grandmother. Well, it's very colorful. I really love it. Thanks. She's very talented. Some of her paintings were shown at the local museum a few years ago. Wow. So are you an artistic person too? Not really. I think I did a sculpture once in junior high. And I go to the museum once a year or so. Why don't you go more often? I don't have to. I have my own museum right here. Okay. So I want you guys to practice the conversation with a partner. Okay, so if you guys can practice it with a partner, okay, try to do it with your partners. Okay, and then you guys, I want you to do it a couple of more times. So you use these words, and then you use these set of words for the second one. Okay, and then for the last conversation, I want you guys to make it. Okay, you guys make the conversation yourself. Okay, so you can say, oh, I like that abstract, okay, painting. Okay, you guys can choose the words you want to put in there, right? Number 2, oh, well, it's very amazing, or it's very interesting. Okay, and number 3, and I go to the museum once a month or so. So just write down how often you like to go to the museum. Okay, so take a few minutes to do that. Practice the conversation. If you guys want, you can pause the video here. Take some time to do it. All right. And after you finish, let's go ahead and go to the next page. We'll take a look at the language practice page. Okay. We'll look at some of the grammar. Okay, for this. Okay, language practice called passives. Passives. Okay, passives. Okay, so we use passive sentences, right? It was painted by Picasso. Okay. or my bike was stolen. Okay, we use these passive sentences when the performer of the action, okay, the person doing the action is either unknown, we don't know who did it, or when the agent or the performer of the action is obvious from the context of the sentence, or when the agent or person doing the action refers to people in general. Okay, so I'll give you examples of each of those. Okay, so if I say, oh, my bike was stolen, right? Okay, my bike was stolen. It was by an unknown person. I don't know who did it. It was by an unknown person. Or if I make a sentence like, oh, our food was cold by the time it was served. Okay, so you know by the context of the sentence, by the time it was served is by the waiter, right? By the waiter. Okay, so you know by the context. Okay, obvious from the context. And then the last example is, what is this called in English? Okay, so what is this called in English? Okay, so that's by people in general, right? What is this called in Korean, right? By people in general, by people in general. Okay, so let's take a look at the box. We'll take a look at some examples, okay, of some passive sentences, okay, and some active sentences. Okay, so I will say the sentences, and then you guys can repeat, okay? So I will say, it was painted by my grandmother, okay? You guys repeat. Okay, my grandmother painted it. Okay, passive. His paintings are enjoyed by millions of people. Okay, millions of people enjoy his paintings. Was that done by your grandmother? Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. Did your grandmother do that? Yes, she did. No, she didn't. Who was that sculpture made by? It was made by Michelangelo. Michelangelo made it. Okay, so if you need any extra practice or any extra information about any of the language practice pages, okay, look in the back of the book. Okay, so at the back of the book, there's more information about passive sentences on page 127 in the back of the book, if you want to read more about passives. But don't worry so much about the grammar, about writing the grammar, because as I told you guys before, this is a conversation class, a speaking class. So I want you guys to focus more on just saying the sentences and saying the sentences correctly, okay, with the correct pronunciation and intonation. Okay, so let's do some practice with passive sentences. Let's take a look at part 1. Okay, let's complete the sentences. Use the correct form of the verb in parentheses. Okay, so number 1, the Mona Lisa was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, so if you guys can, please try to do number 2, 3, and 4 yourself first, and then we'll check your answers after. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video for a moment here. Okay, and then after you finish, we'll check your answers. Okay, so number 2, Da Vinci's paintings are sold for millions of dollars now. Okay, so it says now, right? So they are, not were. They are sold, okay, for millions of dollars now. Today, okay, so we're not going to use past tense here also. So today, most oil paint is produced in factories. Okay, and number 4, was Michelangelo's David created in Italy? Okay, and then for part 2, let's rewrite the active sentences as passive sentences. Okay, so we're going to change it from active to passive. Let's look at number 1. Mexican President Porfirio Diaz ordered the construction of El Angel. Okay, so let's change that to passive. Okay, so now the agent, okay, the performer, okay, is going to be at the end of the sentence. The subject is going to be at the end of the sentence, right? So the construction of El Angel was ordered by Mexican President Porfirio Diaz. Okay, was ordered by Mexican President Porfirio Diaz. Okay. Okay, let's try number 2. Kim Bok-jin introduced modern sculpture to Korea. Okay, so modern sculpture was introduced to Korea by Kim Bok-jin. Okay, so the subject, again, goes to the end of the sentence. Kim Bok-jin goes from active Kim Bok-jin at the beginning of the sentence. Okay, the Kim Bok-jin is at the end of the sentence, and the passive by Kim Bok-jin. Okay, number 3. Oscar Niemeyer designed many buildings in Brasilia, Brazil. Okay, many buildings in Brazil were designed by Oscar Niemeyer. Okay, the subject, again, changes around, right? The subject is at the end of the sentence now. And 4, the Takanaka Corporation completed Tokyo Tower in 1958. Okay, so number 4 would be the Tokyo Tower was completed by the Takanaka Corporation in 1958. Okay, so for part 3, let's rewrite the conversation using passive sentences, then practice it with a partner. Okay. So, what's your favorite museum? The Guggenheim. Okay, people visit it from all over. Okay, so we want to change that to passive. Okay, so I would say, it is visited by people from all over. It is visited by people from all over. Okay, and didn't Frank Lloyd Wright design it? Okay, we want to change that to passive. Okay, we could say, I think it was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. So I think it was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. All right. Okay, let's take a break there, and we'll continue with the second part of Unit 3, and then we'll also check your workbook. So I want you guys to do the workbook before you watch the next part. Can you guys try doing the workbook for Unit 3? I just want you guys to do pages 11. Page 11 here in the workbook, okay? And I want you to do page 12 and 13 also. Okay, pages 12 and 13. Okay. So please do that for homework. And remember, I'll be checking your workbooks later, so make sure you're keeping up with the workbook pages. Okay, so do 11, 12, and 13. And then in the second part of the Unit 3, you guys can check your answers for the workbook. Okay, so just a moment. I'll put up part 2 shortly. Thank you.